Good morning. It's Wednesday morning. Would you believe it's the 19th of March already? Oh, I just can't believe how fast time is going. And that's what happens when you're a child, forever. It seems for every day to go by. And then when you get older, it's like that and it's already gone and the next day's coming, which is fine. Well, today I'm going to talk a bit more about thinking. And the question sometimes is, am I a positive person? Do I think positively or do I think negatively? On our Monday night mental mind treatments, when I'm really working one to one with the people in the chat that come into the chat room with whatever their ailment is and whatever it is, I'm going to do the mental mind treatment and discuss what other things around it. Sometimes it's like needing to sort of explain a little bit. And I don't have a lot of time for that because we're there mainly just to sort of figure out what's going on, do the mental mind treatment for them. and I thought, well, today might be a good day to do that, especially as for me, I have just been feeling so much better in the last few days. It's like spring is coming already, in myself. So are you a positive person? Or are you a negative person? In other words, your thoughts, which cross over your conscious mind, and remember, we have a lot of thoughts that don't make the conscious mind, but is still part of your vibration. But we'll talk about what crosses over the conscious mind. The thoughts that you have create your vibration. You're going to excuse me. I've been dealing now with a little bit of a head cold, and it seems to want to settle in my throat. Now, your vibration goes out. Some of us have a bigger vibration than others, but doesn't matter. Your thinking power is what creates your vibration. And that vibration goes out into the world and creates back to match that. So if you're into a depressed state, if you're into a what I would call a negative thinking state, like nothing's going to work, I'm not good enough, I could be better, all those things that we often have. I'm going to call it the universe, the world outside, the universe outside gives you the information that reinforces that, because that's your vibration that's going out that says, hey, this is who I am. On the other hand, if you have a positive person, not an arrogant one, I'm not talking about arrogance, I'm talking about positive, like a reinforcement. I can do it. We can achieve this. Things that maybe are inquiring, it looks exciting. How will that get done? I've got the strength, I've got the perseverance, I've got the whatever it is that you want to have, is that you assure yourself. Now, this might sound funny, but this is an example of what I've been going through in the last while, is that my knees have been really, my lower back and my knees have been playing up in the last while. It seems like there's always some health crises going on that I'm working through. But anyway, my knees are really, and it's an old family trait. My mother and all my aunts, I seem hereditary. So I'm dealing mentally a lot with the hereditary thing showing up. But anyway, when I get up in the morning and my back is sore and I stretch it out, then I get up to walk. And then the knees are so, you know what I tell myself? Little steps. Just take little steps. So we just mince along for a little bit until everything begins to start working and you can take bigger steps. And that's how thinking can work, positive thinking. And I don't really like to think about positive. I used to think I'm a reality thinker. But anyway, we'll talk about the differences. So just telling myself little steps rather than being frustrated because I can't stretch out and walk like I would normally get up from a chair and go off to in the morning, the washroom or something. Just little steps. And guess what? You get there. Little steps. And what happens is that your body begins to respond to that. That's for me. That's how I cope with almost anything. What I'm going to do is I encourage myself mentally to whatever the achievement that I want to do or what I want to bring or where I'm going or what I'm doing. Now, I've always been really good at organizing time and space, which a lot of people aren't. I know that, but it still relates to how you think about what you're wanting to achieve, what you're wanting to do, and where it is. I, for some reason, have always been time in my mind timely. Like I have half an hour, I have an hour, I have 10 minutes. So that my sense inside, even to this day, is very much about time. And I'll just tell you something that happened years ago when I uh, was the producer of the psychic fairs in the West here. And I had a lot, there were lots to do. It was just me at that time of doing all the office work, all the planning, all the everything. So, and at that time I had a really beautiful house and it was down in the basement I worked. So what I would do is time, I will do work on this till 2. At 2 o'clock, I'll go upstairs and do what I have to do up there for, household things or whatever it is. And I found that very often when I talk to people, they say, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. I can't do this. I don't get it done. It never seems to be enough time. About time. What is time? Time is so many seconds in a minute, so many minutes in an hour, so many hours in a day. And sometimes one can be able to work out how to do that. I had a person say to me, how do you accomplish everything that you do? And that's when I had to really think about it. How do I do this? And was that I allotted time for what I wanted to do. And when you're doing something all the time, you get to know how long it takes. And if you need more time, you give yourself the freedom for that, but you don't stop. What was I going to say? You don't infringe on the other timings that you need so that you never have enough time. Do you know how often I hear that? I just don't have enough time. And I have one of my sayings, and I have many sayings, is time is my friend. There's lots of it. Because you can slow, even though time works at a very, if you're watching a clock, the seconds tick by. If you kind of forget that and know what you've got to do, and you have a certain length of time to do it, it's like time slows down. Time is, and a lot of people know that if you're going to have a car accident or something, that time slows down. I had an experience when I was driving. I had to go drive out, and then I had to cross over in a ferry to go see my accountant. And why I think of that is because now, guess what? Time to see the accountant. And that one morning, this ferry cuts ages over driving all the way around, so you could just take the ferry across the river, is that I was coming up and they were putting the cars into the ferry. So I know that when all the cars are in, they'll close. It doesn't matter. They don't care about you coming along or not. Anyway, I'm driving along. I hit my brake. This is where I learned about time a lot. I hit the brake, not too hard, but the wood was icy from the night before. So do you think I stopped? No. And what happened is when I learned about time, everything slowed down. Basically, if I'd been watching it, it probably looks like I just crashed right into the wood. To me, it took forever to get from where I braked and the car started to slid. And I had already had it turning because I was going to turn to go down the ramp to when I hit the wood. Now, the good news was we could back the car up and I caught the next ferry across. But it taught me a valuable lesson. The time is how we perceive it. Because in that, what felt like, the seconds just grew. That's what I mean. It probably took 2-3 seconds. It felt like a long time. So that's when I knew that time could be expanded if you relax. And I was relaxed. I didn't get panicky about what was going on. If you relax, and I knew that it would be all right for some reason. I was going to be okay, but it was just like you just go with it. But that's when I learned you can expand time in yourself. It's not that time changes out there, but you can slow it down. It will slow down for you. And I've done that many, many times when instead of rush, you know how you want to rush up when something is, oh, I got to hurry, and you want to hurry, you do the opposite. If you feel that you have to hurry, you slow down. Go slower, actually. But you don't worry about the end time part of it. You just don't worry about it. You stay in that knowing. It's a knowing state to that you're going to get where you want to go. And I've actually had people say to me, how do you accomplish as much as you accomplish? And basically it's that. I really work with time. Well, now at this point, I'm not as busy like I was when I was younger and doing mega things, but it's still same things apply because we get habitual. But mostly what tends to happen when things happen, things speed up and we go along with it mentally. We go along with it. We get panicky. We come up in our bodies instead of staying down in our bodies and going slower to sort of evaluate, process what you're needing to do on an emotional way. Another thing that I find very often with people is they just don't have self-belief. Now that's the people I often work with, is that when they come to me, is that they don't believe in themselves. No, that's how I was when I was younger. I was raised with criticism and put downs, and you're not this and you're not that and you're not the other, and you should be this when you're really that. But what it means is that you need to do what we call self-correction. Sit down, take a look at how you respond to things. Do you respond emotionally? And those emotions, what thoughts do they project up here, which will go out there? In a way, you live in this little bubble where you have the mental and you have the emotional. It would be nice when they're balanced because then they can work together. But what I find with a lot of clients that come in, they're not balanced at all. And so consequently, if you're very mentally driven, then you're really usually hard on yourselves. And if you're emotionally driven, it's kind of like you're not being as strict as yourself as you should be. So there's a balance here. How does the mental mind work? So the mental mind always wants, everything kind of like that, and you're supposed to be perfect. What's perfect? How does perfect look? You're living in a body that has emotion. So the emotions will come and show themselves in some ways, shape, or other. And so it's not about saying that is wrong or you shouldn't be this way. Some people are more emotional than others. Some people respond that way. Now, in time, they often learn over-emotionalism doesn't work. A lot don't, because that's a habit. We get habits. We get habits of how we respond. We get habits of how we think. And very often, a lot of those habits don't work for you externally. So thoughts and feelings, but we'll go with thoughts for a minute here. Thoughts recreate your vibration. What you put out goes out will be reflected back one way or the other. When you have a thought of what you want and you're able to put a belief vibration, emotional behind it, it gives it power. Okay, I'm just trying to think of sitting here thinking of a mythology of an airplane sitting on the runway. Can look very pretty sitting there. But when they get the engine started, which would be the emotionality, then the pilot is able to take off and direct where it's going to go. That's what happens to you when you want to do something. When I sit, which I sit a lot, and I look at something that needs to be done, if I have the energy, which is the emotional energy that's into the physical body, to get up and go do it, it's very easy. But when I don't have that energy, it's very difficult. And it comes sometimes like, and if I didn't understand time, if I didn't understand how time would work, I probably would have nothing done. Because when you're not feeling well, when you're feeling, and it's hard to even get up out of a chair or whatever, it's easier not to think that that's impossible or can't be done right now. And because I know of time, I know that, okay, we just have to get through this. It's like little segments, bit by bit. It's just like the airplane. It warms up, and then it drives down the runway, and then it goes off in the air, flies along, and then it does the reverse as it comes back into wherever it's going to land. And that's what your thoughts do. Your thoughts go out. Do they have emotion behind them? Some people just don't believe in who they are enough, or that they're worthy. I have to touch on worthiness in here, because that's underlying that unworthiness. We can, when you grow up with a lot of put downs and not being good enough, and things happen, and you do, and you don't have the instruction or the expertise to learn how to change your thought, or how another way you could handle it, you end up often feeling unworthy to have anything work the way you want it to work. And so then you're in this habit. People have habits of response. Like I have habits of how I do my dishes, how I've set at a table, how I present to you. Those are habits. I know what I have to do. I have to get up. I have to get things ready. I have to look reasonably nice and be able to sit down in front of my computer and send it out on the airways, trusting someone will listen to me, trusting someone will make a comment, somebody will put thumbs up, trusting, a lot of trust goes out. But it's something I love to do, because I love to teach. And that's what I wanted to be, was be a teacher. But my father didn't believe in educating women. Well, he was born in 1903. What can you expect? Well, I did expect, because I wanted to be educated. And then, at 15, I was told, you have to go to work now. Now, luckily, I'd learned how to type and things like that. So I did get a clerical type job. But it wasn't what I wanted to do. And I have to say this, by coming to Canada, I had the ability to go, and I went to night school and got my grade 12. I went to 2 years of college, all part-time, with kids, working, etc. And then this little hobby of mine, where by somebody that I had met, had recommended me as a tarot card reader. And eventually that part took over the majority of my life, but it took a lot of years. But it's like determination. I really wanted to be a teacher. But there's various forms of teaching. Various forms of teaching. I actually substituted a whole classroom pretty well for a whole year on bookkeeping and business machines 12, mainly just because of life's experiences. And while I was still going to school, still being a mother, still, etc. Like, there's such a realm of possibility out there, no matter what, if you find a way. Now, I was fortunate, and actually I did know now that I could also probably have worked it in New Zealand, but they weren't as open-minded to, how to educate. I don't know. I never tricked it. I left New Zealand at 18. What did I know? But within 2 years at least, maybe more. I was in night school learning, getting my grade 12. Took me several years. Getting my first year of university, getting my second year of university. And then the business was so big, I had to make a choice. And I decided, okay. And the thing was, I could teach. I taught meditation, I taught psychic development, and I taught tarot. Then I taught past life regression. And then I taught a lot of things. You have the ability within you to rise above wherever you are or wherever someone else has tried to make you be through your thinking, through knowing you cannot have a thought if it doesn't relate to you. And that's why we talk about positive and negative. If you have a thought that you really, really, really like, then you can contemplate it and see what do you want to do with it, because you have choice. We have choice as humans. Animals don't have too much choice, but we have choice. Or we can say, no, I can't do. I don't like that one. Or you can just say, oh, I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm saying, change your thoughts, change your life. There's been books written about that, and it's true. Takes a little bit of effort sometimes because we have habits. We're habitual people, and we have habits how we think. We have habits how we feel. We have habits how we react to different situations. And the key is to realize, what do you really want? And that's why when it comes in the beginning of the year, I talk a lot about goal setting and what are you planning and where do you want to go and what do you want to do? Because if you don't have a goal, then you go there. Now, things change sometimes. Life doesn't always give you what it is, but I had a friend once, and I think it's quite a common slogan now. If you're given lemons, make lemonade. I've had 2 years of dealing with what started out as a little thing on my elbow. 2 years of surgeries, radiation, other I was on the oncology. I always screw up the name of it. And my friend always corrects me. But anyway, it's not the old kind, but it's a new kind that actually worked, and for sure, about 2 years. 2 years of working with, and then finally ended up with a hole in my arm. That's another story we won't bother with. That is finally going to get healed, and that's been months. So that's why my energy sometimes is a little lacking. But I'm beginning to feel like myself again. Isn't that funny how we have a feeling of self? What is this self? And myself, it loves to travel, loves to go places, loves to do things. And for 2 years, and so weak and so highly, all my energy is gone to be able to be here and share my few words because it kept me going. So I have to thank you a lot for that. And as I said, little steps. When I get a student now, when I get going, know that the highest and best for you is always happening, even if you don't like it. Learning sometimes happens and comes from situations that aren't the best. But if you're looking for your highest and best, and when we're doing prayers, for years I would do this. Once I learned the prayer method, man, I tell you, the mental mind treatment, they call it spiritual mind treatment. I call it mental because it really is a mental exercise. I always used to say, for my highest and best. And sometimes I duck, and then I duck. Because if it's for your highest and best, something that is blocking you or holding you back comes along, you may not like it. So you want it to go by. Goodbye, I'll go down here. I'll duck down here. But you must know that it's all ducked up. I'm just trying to think. So see what little notes I made here. People don't always see the connection between the thinking and the emotions. The more emotion you put around a thought, the quicker it happens. But You can't subdue, you can't overwhelm it like a tidal wave. You can't overwhelm the thought with the emotion. The emotion propels it like the airplane. It's like the gas in the airplane. So you want to go that. So you have a little, it's definitely a balancing, but you create by your thinking. So I'm going to suggest that you begin to take a look what's happening around. What are you supporting? Are you telling yourself that you're absolutely A-okay, that you're creating the highest and best for your world, that you're letting that in? Are you giving yourself positive reinforcement? And as I said in the beginning, it's not, I call it reality. Like, are you being real? We all have aspects of ourselves we may not like the best, but do you accept them and work with them? Or do you just get mad at yourself because you have them, or do you ignore them? All of that is important. Know what your goals are, know what they are, where you're going, what you're doing, and do the best you can. You're not always going to succeed, but that's okay. That's part of life. Who says that everything's just going to blossom right away and everything be? And that's the unfortunate thing with a lot of people who teach positive thinking. I call it a reality thinking, and always explaining that working together with, in the tarot. I'll just give you this example to finish up. When I'm talking about the tarot for people and sort of explaining this is the thinking and this is the emotions, is that the thought creates the framework. You're building a house. I had to think about how did I explain this? You're building a house, so you put the framework up first, right? That's the thinking process. And then the emotion, because in the tarot, that's the cup symbology, comes along and fills in the walls. It's all those pieces we put in there and it comes in. And so the framework is now almost hidden by all the walls around. And then comes the fun part. But it's, then you have to handle what doesn't work. Sometimes it doesn't come together. And do you get angry and smash it all apart, or what do you do? So, but the thing is to recognize the mental and the emotional work together when you're framing something, when you're wanting to create something. Now, you want to change your thinking. This is the final little piece here. I say this quite often through the talks that I've done. You have a thought, you stop it, you freeze it. Sorry. So it's right there. That's this thought. I don't want it anymore. You hold and you evaporate it. It's like rubbing it out. I just see mine collapse. And then you replace it in the space. You see, a lot of people make the mistake with anything they're working with energy is they don't replace it. You got to replace it with something more of what you want. So it's like the emotion has to be acknowledged. A lot of people don't want to acknowledge and they push it away, and it does. That's what makes them ill internally. So funny. I'm kind of laughing. I get cancer on the skin. And I end up feeling terrible because of the treatments, but you should have seen it. As one of my friends was like, it was horrible. And it came back. It got taken care of. It should have been all clear, and it didn't. It all came back worse. So there was a big message on there: clean your skin up. My funny skin, but anyway, it's like you've got to have a sense of humor when these things happen. But remember, your thoughts are the framework. Your emotion that you put behind the thought is what makes it work. But you got to have nice, gentle, loving, easy thought, not angry thoughts, because often that will break it down. Anyway, I think I've gone on enough today. I want to thank Yvonne for being here and listening to me. I appreciate that. I do want to say I appreciate your comments. I appreciate you just listening. And I love you for when you subscribe. But just push the subscription button. And now that I'm feeling better, I can do a little bit more work here of getting things organized the way I want, because people are saying, you need to do this and you need to do that to, make your channel grow. And I haven't had the energy to hardly walk around, let alone create my channel to be the way I want. Anyway, love you all. And as this goes out, I want to say thank you. And Yvonne, I always look forward to seeing you there. Bye now.